analyst. Also with us is Atima Omara, a Democratic strategist and president of the Omara Strategy Group. And Carlos Curbelo is a former Republican congressman who represented the southernmost tip of Florida. And he is also an MSNBC political analyst. Good to have you all with us tonight. Philip, let me start with you and a little bit more of the back and forth between the mayor of Portland and the president. The president was live tweeting the news conference with the mayor, calling him any number of vicious vituperations, which we read earlier tonight. And then Wheeler responded in real time. Listen.
Mr. President, how can you think that a comment like that, if you're watching this, is in any way helpful?
So, Phil, is this... I know this is not helpful. I'm trying to think of an intelligent, analytical question to ask you, and I ain't got one. Like, I mean, someone's dead on the ground in Portland, and they've been protesting for like 90 straight days since George Floyd died, and I'm just not sure which way is up politically, except that this is, in someone's mind, helping a campaign. Either Donald Trump by painting a picture of Democrats as being lawless, or Joe Biden by saying, see, this is exactly what we don't want 4 more years of, but I can't see it being anything else.
Well, Trump, according to my reporting, is viewing what's happening in Portland, but also what's happening in Kenosha, what happened in Minneapolis earlier this year, all of these cities. He is viewing it through the prism of his reelection campaign. He's thinking about the raw politics of it. And he has concluded, as his advisors have said publicly, and as his campaign communications director said to me in an interview Friday, that they think this continued unrest in America's cities is playing to the president's political advantage. Part of what they're trying to do here is scare suburban voters, white women voters, who had voted for President Trump in 2016, who went with the Democrats in 2018, who had largely sort of concluded already they're not ready to give Trump a second term, to give them a reason to come back into the fold. And they think creating an impression of anarchy and unrest and danger in the streets of America's cities, coast to coast, is exactly what will get them to vote for Trump, because he's promising a very simple message of law and order.
Well, and Atima, to that point, you saw that poll this week that showed that support in Wisconsin for Black Lives Matter has gone from majority support to basically parity, 48-48. So it seems perhaps like this Atima might be working.
Well, I would actually push back a little bit on that. I think that earlier this year, what started all of these protests that we've seen across the country was the murder of George Floyd. And Black Lives Matter has nationally enjoyed the largest support that it has since the start of the movement. And what is the problem for Donald Trump has been that his numbers and how he has responded to the protests in Minnesota, in Wisconsin, and in other parts of the country is leaning into the incendiary sort of racist rhetoric that he always used that really has actually pushed white suburban voters essentially away from him, and have resulted in electoral victories for Democrats in Virginia, where I live. In 2017, we picked up 15 seats. Statewide elections, 2018, he lost the House. 2019, lots of victories again across the country in state and local races for Democrats. And, you know, if he keeps this up, he's certainly going to see that a loss in 2020. Black Lives Matter has support because people really do believe that there is a larger problem that needs to be addressed in this country. And so he's leaning into his base and not doing anything to actually address the situation. And his polling numbers have reflected that he has not handled it well. And even white suburban voters who would otherwise be very skeptical of some of the Black Lives Matter movement are on his side on this issue.
Congressman, I wonder if the strategy in Wisconsin feels familiar to you and to me as a South Floridian, because it seems like, you know, in states like Wisconsin, we were talking about voters here and voters there that made the difference. And you look at a state like Wisconsin, a state like Florida, you can shave voters off here and there and target this piece of the I-4 corridor and that part of West Miami-Dade County and this corner of the Panhandle and that corner of the Gulf Coast, and it's enough to win the state, as opposed to saying, let me just appeal to the state. You might be able to shave off just enough suburban white women who are concerned about Black Lives Matter to win Wisconsin again, or lose Wisconsin.
You're absolutely right, and that's exactly what the Trump campaign is trying to do. They know that Donald Trump is never going to have a favorability rating over 50%, but that's not what they're looking for. They're trying to make Joe Biden and Kamala Harris unacceptable to enough Americans so that the president can edge out another victory. They're doing it here in Florida, in the I-4 corridor, and definitely here in South Florida with some of the swing Hispanic voters. This issue of law and order is so compatible with Donald Trump's divide and conquer approach to politics. He is setting this up right now so that he can say that he stands with the police and against those who are looting and burning cities and doing all sorts of illegal things out on the streets. Now, he's bypassing the whole discussion about whether there should be reforms in police departments, which certainly there should be, whether there are instances of brutality, which of course there are. He's saying forget about that. This is now about lawlessness, and I'm on the side of those who want to maintain law and order. That is the way that Donald Trump could get back into this race and could, as Phil said, regain some of those voters that he lost in 2018. They took a chance on him in 2016. 2018 came around. They said, no way, Donald Trump is too much. We're going to vote out the Republicans in Congress who are supporting him. But now those voters are back in play, and this is the issue that could help Donald Trump win them back. I think the Biden campaign has to be very careful not to get boxed in. You saw the vice president coming out with some more explicit condemnation of violence out on the streets today. I think that's important for them. If they get boxed in, they could give Donald Trump a path to a second term.
Phil Rucker, Atima Omara, and Carlos Curbelo, we appreciate y'all being with us. Thanks very much.